is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomενl.com.
Hello, everybody. I am Sean Zalmanoff, and this is your Next Level Loan Officers podcast, the #1 podcast for loan officers by loan officers in this great origination land. And an amazing and awesome special guest today, Todd Belmond, is joining us from the Scotsman's Guide. Todd, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Next Level and the Scotsman's Guide have had an awesome new partnership that we have formed together. You might have seen a few articles that we've had written recently inside of there. And, Todd and I were just talking before, as I was sharing that January 2nd of this year was my 20-year anniversary in the mortgage business. And I know from the very first broker shop that I worked inside that there was a Scotsman's Guide in there day one that I came in. And 27, 28 years the Scotsman's Guide's now been around.
Yeah, 28 years. We're working on our 28th. This would be our 20th. Yeah. So,
man, I thought the 20 number was really big, but man, I guess one of that 30 number is going to be big when I get there in my career too.
Well, you think about it, there's how much has happened over the last 30 years. And, we've been able to weather a lot of these storms because of just the nature of who Scotsman Guide is. As we were talking a little bit before, the intent of Scotsman is more of like a resource guide rather than, for resource for not only, if you're looking for direct lenders, but also all of the, professional development, property expertise through our articles. We have great educational articles. We work with 250 different authors annually between the two magazines. And we're glad to have Next Level LO and LO along with us for that as well. So.
And you said you've been 23 years. You've been an owner.
Yeah, that's right. My brother Kevin and I own and operate Scotsman Guide, and we've grown a lot, along with everybody else in the industry. Much like yourself, we kind of grew up within this industry, and it's always good to hear people that when they first came in, were made aware of Scotsman Guide and the free broker platform that we have available, because it's a great resource, and there's absolutely no reason that people shouldn't be using it. Because it's actually 100% free for originators, and that includes all of our magazines. We have two mortgage trade magazines that we distribute monthly. Residential edition that has focused, of course, on the residential industry. Then we have the commercial magazine that has a bunch of direct commercial lenders that work with TPOs, which is something we'll probably talk about a little bit later too.
Well, it's interesting as the market shift when you're so busy, you trip over the business that's in front of you, and you don't have time to educate and learn quite as much. And then you expect a downturn in the market, and then you get this. And now we have the opportunity to learn and educate ourselves a lot more. And that's really actually something that's incredibly cool with the Scotsman's Guide. And I know something we're going to talk about on the commercial end, because right now, more than ever, as we look to expand the offerings that we can have, so we can attract more loans. Commercial loans are generally at least as big, if not substantially larger than residential mortgages. And they pay pretty darn well too. So now is a really fantastic time for us as loan officers to be able to make sure you're picking up the Scotsman's Guide, reading those sources, so you can familiarize yourself in really learning how to better assist your borrowers, your realtor partners, and everyone else. And man, that's just what you've been bringing to the table for the last 28 years now.
Yeah, no, it's funny. We've been proselytizing residential brokers and originators to dabble, if not get into wholeheartedly into the commercial realm. It's funny. I have a little webinar series that kind of talks about how to kind of get into commercial originations, and sorry, I'm going to turn off that notification thing. We have a bunch of covers on our walls as you go down the hallway. And I looked up one day, and there was an article on the front cover from May of 2000 from a guy that's still in business in Oregon, and it was talking about adding residential to your repertoire, your product expertise, and property expertise. And there's different ways to kind of go about it. I mean, you don't need to go wholeheartedly into you don't need to spend all your time originating that. I mean, there's different ways to kind of get yourself immersed in it. So, I mean, there's, of course, the first one, we have a commercial edition, which is a great resource just to kind of familiarize yourselves with kind of like the verbiage and the language that's associated with the commercial industry, because it is a different language. And then, there's opportunities in there to reach out to either some of the authors that are out there with educational content to learn more. There's lots of mentors out there in the industry that are wanting to kind of take somebody that has the drive to learn more of this. I mean, this is so I won't. But like you mentioned, they can be very profitable. I mean, some of these they go up as high as 5%, but most loan you're going to get like a 3 or 4% as far as the loan if you're going to be originating it.
So can you send me the link for your series on how to get started in that?
I've actually just created that series, so it's something that I've done I've done the whole webinar with NAM once,
okay.
But I just broke it up into a series of 3. Just so it's more palatable. So it's in smaller chunks, because kind of like it's like a 101, then how to source leads, and then how to source lenders. So it's kind of like a 3-part series that I've created.
Cool. So if you'll send it to me, then I'll, if you guys are listening to this or watching us on YouTube or wherever you happen to be consuming your podcast right now, I'll put it down in the show notes. So that way everybody has a direct link to it.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, the only one I actually have is the one that I did with NAMB, and I do have a flyer and stuff that I can send around to everybody. After
also, but just put it in.
Here's a PDF that I can send over. That something that we distribute. We just distributed at NAMB over the weekend. So, and I think when it comes to adding commercial, I mean, it doesn't, like I said, you don't need to to spend all your time involved with this. It's just kind of going out there and starting to kind of introducing yourself to some people. And if nothing else, please just go get yourself set up with a referral network. There's more and more of these coming up. And when I'm talking about referral, I'm talking about there's lenders out there that will just pay you out a fee when you bring them a loan. Yeah. But you need to find the right lender that has the right protections when it comes to not going around you and targeting your borrower. There's broker packages and other little things that help protect you and your borrower from somebody trying to go around you. It's a totally different animal too. Like as you probably know, there's no licensing required on this. There's no RESPA that gets kicked in with this on the commercial side. So as far as like licensing or additional education, it's pretty much wild.
So if you happen to live in Missouri like I do, and you're have somebody a referral in Pennsylvania, you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super easy to find your leads too. Just go through all your 1003s. I mean, how many thousands of loans have you closed over the years? And how many of those do you know that actually have a commercial property on their books, or even some of the investment properties that are out there? Those are great ways to kind of, you can source leads. Just they're already living in your house.
Well, and as local banks are becoming more and more conservative on this impending recession, it's nice to have these outlets. So I was just actually talking. We were in Dallas a few weeks ago and talking with one of our next level LO OGs, Justin Couts, and he was talking about non-QM. And so I recently decided to go back to the broker world and open my own shop. And so I want to give a little perspective from the loan officer point of view as y'all are listening to this right now. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Justin, and he's talking about non-QM, and I'm like, man, I set the whole company up to be a low margin, provide a ton of value, and I want a very specific niche of loans that we're going to do.
Right.
And he's like, man, Sean, he's like, that's great. He's like, let me tell you about this non-QM loan I did. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do non-QM. He was like, just listen to me. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, he's like, well, I just did this $1.8 million non-QM loan.
Yeah.
And it was somebody who, there were a lot of pieces to the puzzle he had to put together. Actually was telling me that he had to go through the Scotsman's Guide. He found an awesome wholesaler to broker it through the Scotsman's Guide. And it was somebody who went away from him and then came back to him. And so he made a couple of points, and, you know, I won't do the math for you, but a couple of points on 1.8 million ain't too shabby. And so I was like, you know what, Justin? I just realized I'm not going to do a $180,000 non-QM loan, but I will do a $1.8 million non-QM loan. Like, you know, and that's what we're dealing with in the commercial world. I mean, gosh, anything above, 5, 6, 50 units, anything that's retail space. I mean, you're dealing usually with some pretty high dollar amounts. And, you know, as Todd was just saying here, I mean, you look at the commission with it not being capped. I mean, gosh, even if it is only 2 points, man, fantastic. But man, what if you're making a commission 3 or 4 points on that? All of a sudden, like, I'm not a commercial lender, but I think I'm going to go be a commercial lender and learn about it. And right now is a great time. If you are a little bit slow, you know, put more arrows in your quiver, as I always talk about. It's just one more that you can pull out later. Familiarize yourself with the commercial lenders. You know, they're probably a little bit slow right now too. It's a great time to pick up the phone and form some of these relationships with the AEs inside of there. So when you do have these loans that come up, you're ready to roll and you're ready to be able to present that to them. So there is a lot of great information that you can learn today to make that happen for yourself.
Yeah, and to your point about the non-QM being a great opportunity, I mean, there's we've already seen twice the amount of non-QM securitized this year than what we saw all of last year. So that product's not going away anytime soon. I see it only getting stronger as we move forward, just because there's far less borrowers that are, you know, that are in the conforming realm. You know, there's a lot of people with those 2-3% rates that are off the market for, you know, for the foreseeable future, right?
Well, and I really like, so you're double the amount of non-QM originations.
Yeah.
In 2022 versus 2021.
Yeah.
So we're in a market that's going to do half the production from the previous year, and we're double the amount. I mean, that's like 4x, really, when you look at origination volume overall of what that non-QM market's expanding to.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing a real opportunity if you aren't at least learning, you know, the non-QM. There's lots of jumbos out there. I mean, there's a lot of the things that you don't really think is non-QM is really, you know, it just means what's non-QM. It's not qualitative. It's a mortgage that isn't qualitative, you know, that isn't QM, right? Yeah. So that's a really big bucket, you know, when you look at it. And I think there's a lot of things that are non-QM that really aren't flagged as non-QM yet, in my estimation. But yeah, no, that's we've, like we were talking about earlier, you know, I mean, crisis equals opportunity. You know, it's the old the Chinese symbol that has the same danger and opportunity, or somewhat of the same symbols on there in that frame. I'm messing up the whole thing, but yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity out there to help supplement, and obviously you might have some more time on your hands. So, you know, getting on and just kind of, you know, starting to read the commercial edition. It'll cost you absolutely nothing to go explore, you know, and jump in there. Go over to, you know, to my digital edition. You can go to the lender directory and just go through the lenders on there and go look at their websites. Familiarize yourself with the way that they're talking about themselves, and look for the ones that have, like, you know, referral. They have like a little referral column. You can hit that and just kind of join that referral network and start having those conversations with some of these lenders. And, you know, and a lot of the lenders that are working with us, we do have some banks, but as anybody that's gone through any kind of bank financing, it's the last time you want to do it. And it's no different on the commercial side. I mean, they do,
especially on the commercial side.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing out the probe on those. So you go into like private money, which is what runs a lot more through us. You know, the non-bank private money stuff is far easier to originate than any kind of bank financing. Obviously, everybody here has experienced that on the residential side. It's similar in nature on the commercial side. So, and SBA is another animal entirely. But
Todd, you brought up a new point or a good point of like so many people, especially if you've been around as long as I have, and you were part of the subprime market. I didn't do subprime loans, but I was around during that time, and so many people equate non-QM and subprime as one in the same. And, the difference is first of all, everybody who's around the non-QM looks back on history and they learned a lot from them. So they're not making those idiotic and moronic mistakes that they did, where they were having physicists generate their mortgage-backed securities based on unfounded principles of sustainability that weren't possible in the mortgage market. Right. So a lot of that non-QM, I mean, you have people that I see for one reason or another, their tax returns don't allow them to go to a traditional bank, but they got a lot of cash. The property's cash flow. And if you got a good credit score, a lot of cash in your property's cash flow, there is a great lender out there who you can partner with. One of the things that I struggled with so much back in those days is somebody would come to me and they'd want to buy a 4-family. And I can't even remember the names of the lenders, but like it was, you'd get an 8% first and a 12% second for 100% loan to value in a 4-family. Right. And like, if one of the 4 units wasn't rented, the property didn't cash flow. You'd be losing a few $100s a month. And I try to tell the people, like, this is an investment property. And if you break down invest, like you should be putting money into this, not buying this at 100%. Right. I didn't want to be right. And I didn't know I was going to be at that time, but it turns out, unfortunately, I was for most of those people when they didn't have the reserves and they weren't set up to run the business of owning the property. And so these kind of loans they're very different right now because you have qualified borrowers that really can make this work, but for one reason or another, they don't fit the traditional bucket.
Yeah, a lot of them they're dabble with the 620 and up with the non-QM stuff. I mean, a lot of them don't even go below that. So it's not like, this isn't your father's non-prime or subprime. You know how they've tried to soften that forever. And it's because there is still that non-prime that's out there. Because remember back, that's why we still have prime mortgage, where everything was, because we used to have prime mortgage and then subprime. Those the two as far as lender listings in the magazine, where that's because back then everything was kind of based on your FICO, right? Everything revolved on that credit score, the godliness, of like whatever your credit score is. And now there's so many different documentations. There's so many different ways that there's so many people that are self-employed. So there's the millions of people out there like that. And so there's the alternative, the formal documentation, eludes a lot of these people that are cash rich, like you said, and have great credit scores. And we see a lot of the loans that come through in our non-QM lender search are higher FICOs. They're not looking at the 520s and sub 500 kind of stuff. It's not your subprime. It's not your subprime product.
Well, this is going to date me, and most of the people who are listening to this won't even know what I'm talking about. But I remember Fannie Mae, like you didn't just have approve eligible. We had a level 1, 2, 3, and then the level 4 that were on Fannie Mae approvals. And depending on level 1, 2, or 3, we had different investors. Almost everybody accepted the 1s and 2s. Not everybody accepted the 3s. And then there were pricing adjustments that went into place for those factors that went in there. It was. Fannie Mae even had different levels of what was prime and non-prime back in the day.
Yeah. And, I think I'll be curious to see where it all goes, where because there's, the non-QM, I think it's just going to get stronger and stronger. There's massive demand for this. And it's really good paper. It's obvious a lot of this is manually underwritten. So there's not really a proper LOS out there. There's no automation. So it's all going to need to be manually, which adds a little bit of a layer, but they're getting better at it. And if you look at the paper that's being originated out there, it's performing really well on these non-QM notes. And I think that's a testimonial to how much work they've done on being able to vet borrowers these days,
when you make people make a down payment, a substantial one. You make sure the property's cash flow. It's like the property can live on without the person who qualified for it being involved.
Yeah.
And that's really where the magic sauce is versus, we'll give you 100% loan to value and just assume it's going to appreciate at 5% a year. No worries. It doesn't.
Sean, I remember our high CLT. We used to have a lender listing called high CLTV. So it was 100% and above. It was we had like probably 15 lenders in there that were offering things like up to 125%. If you're back.
I mean, that pay option arm that was so popular back in those days. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but that's what I do appreciate about this industry and this downturn, this round, is that, where the housing industry is leading the recovery, or has been, it's just kind of it's a different animal than what we saw before. So I don't know where it's all gonna come, wash out, but I think we're looking at a rough 12 months here. So, and it goes back to our conversation about how can you supplement a lot of the originations that have kind of fallen off, and dabbling, going in, and this for just to get back to the commercial. So, this isn't just for the individual either. It doesn't need to be heaped upon your shoulders as the originator. Go to your company, find out what are they doing with all of their loans. There's referral opportunities for your entire company to go take advantage of. Go help set that up. Go get involved with that. Go challenge the ownership. Like, why aren't we getting into commercial? Have you guys ever thought about this? I'm sure it's on their radar, but it's just how much time and energy do we want to expend on something that takes away from us doing our day job, our technical day job.
Yeah.
So I guess trying to make the argument for that and showing the opportunity, and I think that a lot of the powers that be have kind of seen some of the writing on the wall there, that there's originations are down, so let's look at some other alternatives.
You mentioned just the market in general and housing leading this recovery. So I just talked about this in our community. And there's something that I do every Tuesday and Thursday inside the Next Level community called the Mortgage Minute. And it was yesterday that I put this out there. We just had the jobs number that came out on Friday, and so by the time you all are listening to this, it'll be a little bit past that. But we had the September jobs number, and it was a good jobs number that came out. Unfortunately, mortgage-backed securities sold off after it. There was revision up. The ADP number that the week on the Wednesday before was also pretty strong. And people are like, they're tripping over their lip like, oh man, well now rates are moving up again. And yeah, that's a challenge, and it's a byproduct of what's happening. But good employment numbers lead to a stronger housing market, lead to a fact that prices aren't going to go down at all or very much, depending on what market that you're in, if the labor market's resilient. Right. We know we have a shortage of houses. Like all of these things that, I'm talking to realtors right now who think that we are about to enter, the black days of the mortgage market and housing market again, and educating them on, if you have more demand than supply, and we have lots of people still getting jobs, we have some more temporary pain ahead of us. But it makes all the more reason that people should be buying houses right now, because in 2 years from now, they're going to be more expensive than they are today.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to take advantage of a refinance when rates do come down with the appreciation that you built in your property. And as loan officers, when you get to take the message and learn about the Scotsman's Guide and learn about non-QM and learn about the commercial side of what's at our fingertips, when you take the news and the media and you control the message versus letting the talking heads on every news media channel talk about how bad things are, you become the industry expert in your community, and people turn to you for advice and turn to you for the solution to their problems, because they want to deal with somebody who's positive and knows what they're talking about, versus ripping some garbage out of the headlines that when you look at what it really is, it's not true, but our consumers don't. So Todd, man, what anything else you got for parting words today for all of our listeners?
No, just, keep your head up. It always gets better. And just go out there. Just go check out Scotsman. It's a great resource. Pass on the good word to those that are out there that are struggling. We're there to help you guys. I mean, that we're here to help you find funding. It's absolutely no charge. We'll never ask anything of you. So just keep us in mind when in need. And and my contact information, if anybody wants to reach out to me, please just let me know. And we have top originator rankings opens up January 1st. So don't forget.
Nice. Well, again, we'll have some links, even if it has NAM on it, it's fine for the show notes of what you mentioned for getting started in the commercial world. If you want to find out more about Next Level, hey, guys, it's $197 a year to join our community. We always promise we deliver more in value than we receive in payment. So go to becomemnl.com. You can find out about it there. Todd, thank you for everything you do with the Scotsman Guide. Thank you for joining us today. Friends, I'm Sean Zalmanoff. I'll see you on the other side. Peace out.
Take care. Bye.